today we are here with Julie Potiker. She is a mindful self-compassion teacher and author, and she's joining us today to talk a little bit about stress reduction as well as mindfulness and some other fun stuff. So thank you, Julie, for joining us.
My pleasure to be here.
Can you please tell the audience a little bit about you and your work?
I'm a recovering attorney who got very deep into the mindfulness and neuroscience practice and data when I had a health scare about actually more than 10 years ago now, about 12 years ago, where I was so stressed out that the wrong words were coming out of my mouth. And so I went through a whole neuro evaluation with scans. And when he was doing the evaluation interview, and once my brain scans were cleared, and he asked me what was going on in my day-to-day life, and I told him I had 3 kids, all with ADHD, managing their school. I was president of some nonprofit. My parents were aging. I was the only kid with boots on the ground. He said, it's stress. What's going on in your body, in your mind? And have you ever heard of mindfulness-based stress reduction? And I said, no. Have you ever heard of John Kabat-Zinn? I said, no. I mean, this is, like the father of bringing mindfulness to the West. The curriculum's 40 years old. I took it. It was really interesting from a scientific background, and I'm a little bit nerdy. So I started taking the brain science classes. And then some years later, Mindful Self-Compassion was created. I took it. That was it. And then some years after that, they did a teacher training for that course. And I was in the first 52. There's thousands of us worldwide now, but I was in the first 52 humans to take that class from the creators. And then I started teaching it, and that was in 2014. And since then, I've taken, a half a dozen other trainings. I won't bore you, but they're all in the same genre of how do we calm down our nervous system to be effective in the world.
So Julie, what is mindful self-compassion? What does that even mean?
Mindful self-compassion has 3 components. It's mindfulness, it's self-kindness, and it's common humanity. So you have to know that you're suffering in order to give yourself kindness. And then linking to common humanity, there's 8 billion of us. If we're feeling fear or shame or sadness or grief, knowing that at that moment there's billions of other people literally feeling the same feeling that you're feeling helps stave off depression and also anxiety.
So how do people realize they're suffering? And it's 2 parts, right? How do they realize they're suffering? And do some people actually like suffering? Because I think there's some people out there that are sort of like that, right?
So those are 2 really big, huge questions, Brian. So which one do you want first?
Your choice.
Okay, so how do people know they're suffering? That's a really huge question because we're embodied humans. We're not just living from the neck up. A lot of people don't realize that there's a lot going on in their gut, in their heart, in different body parts. You've got a vagus nerve going down from your brain, snaking down through your whole body. There's all kinds of, there's some scientists that say that your gut has a brain, your heart has a brain. So how you know you're suffering is once you start practicing mindfulness, you get in tune somatically to your body. Mm-hmm. So you can feel, that I've got butterflies in my stomach. Oh, my solar plexus feels a little tight. I've got a pain in the back of my head. It's attached usually to an emotion, right? And then once you know that that's anger coming up or grief coming up or whatever it is coming up, then you can do specific things right away to calm down your nervous system. It's your amygdala going off, right? And you want to get your prefrontal cortex online. So you can do soothing touch. So do you see I have my hand on my heart? I'm releasing endorphins and oxytocin. Wow, that's good. That's calming my nervous system down. For some people, the soothing touch might be their belly or cradling their face or hugging their arms, but it's really parenting yourself so that you calm down and slow down.
You know, that's pretty funny because when I sort of meditate, I do that. And I just thought I was just like a weirdo. Like I didn't realize there was anything.
No, you're
wrong
actually
with it.
brilliant. You're not a weirdo. You might be a brilliant weirdo. No, but all these
That's
things
correct.
work.
That's accurate.
Yeah.
And you had a second question, which was more
Do some
more
people
Some people
yeah,
like pain.
more in the purview of psychologists probably than me.
Mhm.
I'm not a psychologist, but really we all have the need to be seen, heard, and loved, right? And so at the core, deep down underneath all the crap that gets built up are those needs that are the same for everybody. And if somebody likes suffering, it must be filling one of those needs.
Now, you mentioned touch. I just want to go back to that for 1 second. I'm derailing myself this time. My sister is an occupational therapist, and she often does that to my son. And she'll kind of touch him in a certain way when he's acting, when he's just out of control or he's, bouncing off the walls. And it really calms him down. He doesn't know.
Ta-da!
Yeah.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Right.
I was wondering if that was.
The cool thing is that we can do that for ourselves. It's innate with babies and parents.
Mhm.
When a baby is in distress in any way and the parent picks the baby up and goes, oh, the gentle vocalization and the soothing touch, actually a cascade of calming hormones gets released in the infant and in the parent. And what scientists now know is that we can do that for ourselves. My daughter used to say, I want mommy hodo. I want mommy hodo. And now mommy can hodo herself.
So okay, and this is one of the things I believe, right? A lot of people they'll pet their dog, right? You like petting your dog. Like, why don't we touch other humans more? Like you're sitting on the couch with, what I mean, like your kid and rub their back or whatever. Is that that's sort of the same thing, correct?
It is the same thing, and the petting the dog thing is another one of your innate brilliance because that will lower your blood pressure and lower your heart rate when you're petting petting your dog.
Us personally, not the dog. Us.
The human, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And by the way, okay, this is completely derailed. This is going to be a fun interview. When I first opened the Balanced Mind Meditation Center some years ago, I had a dog meditation class with this phenomenal woman who does doggy doshas, and everybody I have 4 dogs, so I had to choose one. So everybody brought their dog, and it was amazing. And the dogs really feel our energy. You know how like when you're sad, your dog will come up and snuggle you? So when you get calm and drop down into your body, the dog drops down into his or her body. We're energetic beings. And I'm not new age, so I'm telling you scientifically we're energetic beings.
Does that work the same with children?
Yes.
Young children, they feed off of our energy similarly.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Kristen Neff, who is one of the creators of the Mindful Self-Compassion curriculum that I'm a teacher of, has this incredible story. She has a child with autism, and there was actually a documentary made about them years and years ago. He's already I think a young adult now, but this was when he was a toddler. And she was on an airplane, and he was flipping out. And everybody was giving her dirty looks and talking, amongst themselves about her. And she was just literally filled with anxiety and shame. And she took him to the back of the plane, like where the bathrooms were, and she just let go and just poured self-compassion on herself. She was like, oh my God, this is so difficult. This is so painful. I am so ashamed and I am out of control. And it calmed her whole body down. And miraculously, not so much miraculously, really scientifically, he calmed down.
Wow. So when my family tells me my son's crazy because of me, I guess it really is because I'm crazy, right?
Well, I mean, and I
Wow,
don't.
you want to unpack that? Because that is not nice.
So okay, so and I don't know if we get too much into science behind it, but so it's sort of like when you could feel someone's angry before you even know they're angry, or someone's sad before you
Right.
know they're sad, right?
Right.
Sort
So
of that same concept.
we're mirroring each other's neurons, Brian.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's why feelings are contagious.
Hmm.
It's because we're mirroring each other's neurons. I actually brought, because I don't know you guys, and I didn't know how this interview would be. I actually brought some of my favorite books as props.
Oh, let's
And
see 'em.
We
there's
like props.
one that I want to show you, that's because you guys still have young kids. Can you see that?
Self-compassion for parents.
Self-Compassion for Parents by Susan Pollack. It's phenomenal. If I would have had this book when my kids were little, I probably actually wouldn't have this vocation now because I would have had my act so much better together. Okay. This book came out within the last year. So throwing a big props to Susan. And then this book just came out this year. And I feel like I don't ever need to write another book. It's Good Morning, I Love You by Shauna Shapiro.
Oh,
And we'll definitely
And
we'll put links to all of them.
yeah, and she's a scientist. Actually, if you just link to my website,
Uh-huh.
the library in my website has all the books that I have found to be transformative are on my website. It's like a library, and everybody else's websites and newsletters, and I'm not selling anything. I give my book proceeds to charity, so it's not like I'm hawking my wares. I just want to help
Trying to be a
people.
good person.
Yeah, I just
That's
want to
it.
help people.
So yeah, be a good human, see?
Be a good human.
So Julie, one of the things that caught my attention about you actually was there was something out there about your immune system and mindfulness-based stress reduction. So before we even get into that, and you mentioned this in your story about how you kind of came to this place about this, how the stress was impacting your body and your physical, your speech. How tied are stress and your immune system? How deeply linked?
They're completely tied in a knot together. So if you start a meditation practice, you just put in your earbuds and you listen to a guided meditation, your heart rate will go down, your blood pressure will go down, anxiety and depression will go down, inflammation, hear me, inflammation goes down, your telomeres, which are how you age because they get frayed and get smaller and disintegrate as you age, your telomere length stays longer. You get more gray matter in your brain. The health benefits of meditation help your immune system stay strong. So then people say, I don't have time to meditate. I don't want to meditate. I don't like meditating. I can't meditate. My mind is chattering. There's a million reasons people use. This is so much better, and it's free, and it's not pharmaceutical, right? If you need pharmaceuticals, by all means, you need pharmaceuticals. But to add this is a no-brainer, right? So Balanced Mind with Julie Potiker has great meditations. They're me. Insight Timer has great meditations. I'm on there also, as well as 35,000 other meditation teachers. These are free. Scientists say 12 minutes is kind of the sweet spot once a day. I recommend 20 minutes, but start with 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you will help your immune system. And then if you're like, I really can't sit, try standing. Try lying down. Try doing it when you're walking. Try Qigong or Tai Chi, because those are movement meditations.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's mindfulness and daily life activities where you're giving your brain a break from worrying and ruminating by paying attention to what you're doing when you're doing it. That all counts for brain health, like drinking your coffee mindfully, cutting your vegetables mindfully. Close your eyes when you brush your teeth and experience the toothbrush, the taste, the sound, the whole thing. Those are all add up to like minutes that you could be doing a guided meditation.
So what about people who don't believe in mindfulness? What do you tell
Look,
them?
there's people that don't believe you should wear masks.
Oh.
We're talking about science here.
But what do you say to the skeptics about mindfulness and meditation?
At this point, the science is overwhelming and irrefutable. So this isn't new age. This isn't there. There's 3,000 years of spirituality practice. Science has caught up with it.
Right.
So I'm having this, we're in this crazy world right now, Nicolette and Brian, where people are refuting science and they're spinning lies into gold. And our country is falling apart here in the United States. People can't even have a conversation with each other.
Right.
So what do I say to those people? I say this could help you. This is proven to help you. If you'd like to try it on and see if your friends and family notice that you're a kinder, calmer, more settled human.
How long do you think it takes? If you were going to tell somebody, well, give it a shot for this amount of time and see if anything changes in your life.
It's actually a good question. I'd say try it for a week. Okay. And then I'd say try it for a month. Because I think what happens is it feels good. It feels so good, like dropping down into your body and taking a rest from all the worrying and ruminating that we do as primates, because that is how we are wired. Right?
So another question on timing, right? These things, we talk about doing it intentionally, right? Like you're focusing, like, okay, I'm going to do this. How much practice to where your body starts doing this naturally, like where you go, okay, because I'm a true believer, like you got to do things over and over again, and then they'll become natural to you, right? And then you'll do it all the time. Like, you could spend, like I do the same thing you do. You spend sometimes a couple just minutes meditating. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to do it for 30 minutes and sit there. Like my kids are like, why are you staring out the window sometimes? I'm just sort of meditating, like staring into, emptiness, right? But how long does it take to become natural for people? Is it, a year? How does it?
I think it depends on the person, Brian, because some people are more, I think some people are more wired that way, and I think it also depends on how much you love it. Like I know that if I haven't meditated for a few days in a row, I notice that I'm feeling a little off. And I'd really prefer to not feel that way. The other thing that I need to put in here that's hugely important, that sounds so like silly, is the gratitude practice. The gratitude practice sounds almost Pollyanna. And I used to not do it because I was like, didn't want to be told what to do even by myself. Like, write down 5 things you're grateful for each day. That's so annoying. So I keep a gratitude journal near my toothbrush because it ends up underneath so many books and magazines if it's on my nightstand. And I answer 2 questions every night. What did I enjoy today and what am I grateful for today? Because that's less annoying to me than write down 5 things you're grateful for every day. But meanwhile, the health benefits of the gratitude thing, it just makes us happier because we get in a positive feedback loop. And I know from brain science that what you put your attention on, you keep rewiring. So if you're going down the rabbit hole of worry and ruminating, you're just rewiring and rewiring and rewiring those crappy bridges in your brain. Whereas if you're noticing a moment of awe, a great positive mental state, and you let that land, you marinate in it, you're rewiring a happy brain, a bridge in your brain, because I teach experience-dependent neuroplasticity. I know that's a mouthful. It's Rick Hanson's work. It's Rick Hanson. He couldn't come up with a better name for it because that's really what it is. So it's what fires together, wires together. So when you're having a positive mental state, like your kids are just adorable in that moment and you're loving it and you're soaking it in and you feel it in your body, you're rewiring a happy bridge in your brain. And the more times you do that during the day, so when you feel gratitude and you actually let it land, you're making your brain happier. So when you're in your default mode network and your mind's just wandering, it's normally kind of a little bit negative because we're human and we have a negativity bias. We have a negativity bias because of our primate brains. It's how all of us are wired. The more happy bridges you create when you're not in your default mode network, the happier default mode network becomes, which is crazy cool that you can control that.
So you mentioned,
you
follow that? That was a mouthful.
No, I totally got it. So you mentioned
reinforcing those connections, whether they be negative or positive.
Right.
You know, before you do one, you're going to reinforce those.
Right. So you want it to be positive, and you got control over that.
Right.
So you mentioned increasing, meditating and increasing almost gray matter, right, in your brain earlier.
Yeah.
So, we're always creating new nodes and synapses and things like that in our brain. And, if we're doing that with positivity and positive things. So is that what's actually creating those additional nodes and synapses? Is that what's increasing the brain matter? I don't know if I'm getting too sciencey.
I think I think you might be getting too sciencey, but the easy answer is yes.
Okay.
Because what fires together wires together. So you're wiring neurons together.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to just back up for a second because, this is great now, right? Now you're, I think you mentioned your children are older now, you're into this career for a while, you've been, really studying it. But if you rewind a little bit to those early days after that initial appointment where you, realized that you were, so stressed out and needed to start implementing different practices, what, maybe this is partially selfish, right? But what were those early days like for you? What did you struggle with in the beginning when you had younger children and you were trying to balance all these things? What smaller changes did you have to make in the beginning?
I was meditating in the car in the pickup line at school. So you know how there's like a long row of cars if you're driving your kids to school and picking them up? Mm-hmm. So I would get there early, and then the car was actually a great posture seat for meditation because you're completely supported, you're upright, you can be relaxed. And then I would put in a guided meditation and close my eyes, and I would do one anywhere from like 10 minutes to 20 minutes. And then the kids would get in the car, and I was like the most chill mom in the universe. So that was a big one because it seemed like it was hard to carve out a time for myself when everybody was home and the house was hectic, right? So I would just figure out, I'm super intentional. After 12 years, I still have those little circles that are stickers placed around in my environment, on my laptop, on my dashboard of my car, on my mirror, to remind myself to stop and breathe. Still now today, I have this is on my desk. Open up a space between the match and the flame for patience. I'm incredibly intentional. So it's intention, attention, attitude.
Just not detention.
No, not detention. I had a lot of that in school.
Me too.
I didn't like to be told what to do.
No, me either. So real quick, you mentioned quietness, right? Because I know this is one for me. With children in the house, and everything going on, it's hard to meditate when there's so much going on in your house. Is there anything people could do who actually, it's almost impossible to get quietness in the house at certain points, besides maybe late at night or something? Or is that when they should meditate?
I think late at night and early in the morning are a good idea. And the other thing is just saying, you know what, mommy's going to take or daddy's going to take 15 minutes now, and just put in your earbuds or headphones, and then just have the guide be loud enough, and then just allow the sounds in the environment to move to the background.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn, and you probably already know this, to shift your attention around. So like after many years of meditating, maybe you want the sounds in the environment to be the source of your anchor, or maybe the feeling of the air, or maybe what you can see under your closed eyelids, or you know what I mean? You can move the anchor of your awareness all around. It's very cool that you can do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So Julie, before we wrap up, I would love you to leave us with some practical advice about self-compassion and how, you talk about, you write about compassion for ourselves, right? And having compassion for ourselves. How do you suggest we start to gain that if we're really lacking in that area?
And you want this in how many minutes, Nicolette?
Whatever you got, Julie.
Oh my God. We need to love ourselves. We need to love ourselves up so much because we're so worthy that we can then spread love to others. That's the short answer. The long answer is internal family systems, the mindful self-compassion curriculum, the work of Brene Brown. I mean, the long answer is like about, 12 hours worth. The short answer is love yourself because you're worthy.
So if you want the long answer, go to Julie's website. Basically,
That's helpful.
Yes. That will get in the right road.
Well, Julie, is there anything else you'd like to leave us with today before we head out?
To tell you the truth, yes, because we're in such a fractured country right now, and I really want people to slow down and still try to talk to each other. I've been doing it on social media, and people are like, you're drinking the Kool-Aid, or other people are like, they're too stupid and brainwashed. And really, nobody's drinking Kool-Aid and nobody's too stupid and brainwashed. We're all human beings, and we need to remember that we are the same tribe as humans. Right? And so if we could calm down and stop othering each other, then we cannot be Democrats and Republicans and libertarians. We can be humans. And that's really what I'm trying. And people are like, you've got to be kidding me. You're engaging in dialogue with these people. They're too stupid to understand. I'm like, actually, they're not. They want the same things as I do. We want to be safe. Right? We want to feel love. We want to give love. We want to have an impact. We have very similar core values. So if we could stop seeing each other as other and see each other as humans, there's a chance we could have a conversation and get this country back on track.
I like that. Ends on a positive note. I agree. Well, thank you so much, Julie. Please tell everybody, give us your website. If you have any, you have a few books as well, right?
Well, the book that I wrote, I don't want you guys to read because you're going to be afraid about when your kids become teenagers, but it's Life Falls Apart, but you don't have to. Mindful Methods for Staying Calm in the Midst of Chaos. It's got a little sailboat on the front because I'm a sailor. That's one of my happy places, is being out on the ocean. And my website, mindfulmethodsforlife.com, has a phenomenal resource and reading page. And I write new blog content every 2 weeks, and everything in there is free. So, and I teach meditation, and the podcast is free, and I'm just trying to be a good person.
That's awesome, Julie. Thank you so much. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.